What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I wanna react to a video, Shannon Sharp and his reaction to Byron Scott saying that great players don't switch teams, right? Typically, they don't switch teams, and so now every time somebody get offended when somebody says this about LeBron James or referring to LeBron James, they never really address the fact that it's not about just switching teams. It's about wanting to compete and beat the best of the best. And so they never address this. And it's the same thing with this with Shannon Sharp. He talks around it and he talks about everything else, but he never addressed like the competition. For instance, Shannon Sharp says that so it's an issue when owners put teams together because the owners want to win. So the owners put the better team together. Now, that's true. But as a player, it's your job and your responsibility like to compete. Owners want to put the best teams together. So, they're not really like it's the mindset of an owner is different from the mindset of a player. The player, typically, well, at least back in the day, they wanted to beat everybody. They wanted to prove that they were the best. It's like going to the playground, or going to a gym and you be like, I got my five. My five, we're gonna beat everybody in here, and so, but when when you look at LeBron James, he didn't have that type of mentality, and that's what Byron Scott is referring to. Had LeBron James stayed in, like when he left Cleveland and he went to Miami, had he stayed in Miami and said, you know what, I'm just going to go up and down the list. I'm gonna beat all comers, everybody. And so it's not only done in basketball, it's done, people wanted to do it in boxing. That's why people loved Muhammad Ali, back in the days when they used to fight, because they fought everybody. They didn't duck people out, but it's not like that anymore. So with that being said, let me play the audio of what Shannon Sharp had to say about Byron Scott, right? And I think that it also goes into the game is changing, right? And the game is no longer about competition, perseverance, and stuff like that. Like the way the game is going now is making players weaker than what they were back in back in the day. So I wanted to add that before I got into what Shannon Sharp was saying.
Joe, I'm gonna have to let you answer this one first. Byron Scott on LeBron James being considered the GOAT. He says great players don't join multiple teams. Most of us judge LeBron based on guys that just mentioned. I'll throw one more guy in there, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He got traded from Milwaukee to LA, right? So two teams, his whole career. MJ, two teams basically, in the whole career. So when you're judging LeBron, you're looking at a guy of the greatest players of all time, and they and what they did at those organizations. They basically never left.
Come on, man. Hey, listen. I don't know why they go at Bron so much. Maybe it's because he did lead the Lakers, considering the fact that he could have went back there. He could have went back to L.A. Ocho. But come on, man. I don't know why he gets the scrutiny that he gets. It's okay, man. He ain't got to.
Well, when it comes right now, they got a podcast. And you beat him up right now, you're going to get clicks and likes. You're going to get mentioned.
But see, and now Shannon Sharp talks about LeBron James too, but he's on the other side of the argument. And like I said, none of these guys, Shannon Sharp, Joe Johnson, Chad, sometimes Chad might say something, but it's about the competition. Larry wanted to beat Magic. Magic wanted to beat Larry, right? And also remember, Steph Curry got 4 championship rings. 3 of those rings came against LeBron James. And so it's about the competition, but they never address that. They talking about you jealous of him, he's over scrutinized, and things like that. But they never can combat that argument about his competitiveness, right? And the fact that where the league is, the point where he has brung the league to with his not willing to compete like guys did, back in the day. I think that this league now is more so about storylines, or drama than it is competing. And maybe because if in today's game or today's climate, there's so much of an appetite with social media and all these other platforms for more news, right? So if you had one guy who was the face of the league, like you did with Michael Jordan, or like when Larry and Magic was the face of the league, maybe those storylines were not enough to satisfy the appetite for people who like to consume, the content. It's just so many different outlets out there, and so much information is needed to, for that, to satisfy the content. So maybe that's part of the reason why, that the NBA is allowing LeBron James to take this path.
Now, he said, the fact of the matter, he said multiple teams. Multiple teams means more than one. Back then, guys, it's kind of like in the NFL. Guys couldn't move like they can now, Ocho. Guys couldn't move like they moved in basketball. So I guess Shaq couldn't be considered a great player. KD can't be considered a great player. LeBron, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, Akeem Olajuwon, Patrick Lee. Come on, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? I don't care if he went to 20 teams. How good was he on those teams? Every team he played for, they won a championship. Every team that he played for, he was an all-NBA selection. How many guys can say, you know what? I've been on 4 different teams, and I've been an all-NBA selection on all of them?
Probably no.
But and the other side of that is you can see him as an underachiever, because I think when you stay with one team and you learn how to persevere, and you take all the ups and downs that come with building and rebuilding, like what Steph Curry did. What Steph Curry did with the Golden State Warriors, right? They didn't go every year, and they lost some games, but he stayed there and he stuck it out. They built and they rebuilt, and so and that's the same thing with Magic and Bird. Like they didn't go every year. They went consistently, but when they lost it, they went back to the drawing board and they came back. When LeBron James lose, he usually leave town. And so that's what everybody is speaking to. They're speaking to his ability to want to compete with the best and beat the best and dominate. Kobe was like that. Kobe wanted to dominate everybody in the league.
Every team that I've played for, I've gone to an NBA Finals. 3 of those 4 teams that I've been on, I've won an NBA Finals. I've won a Finals MVP. Yeah, it would be great. People always talk about players not being loyal, but hold on. And you said something very interesting. And I love B. Scott. And B. Scott know this because we used to work out in the same gym when I was in LA. And I see him, and we always mess up. We end up talking for an hour and mess up our workout because we talking basketball, we talking football. But the fact of the matter is, Milwaukee traded Kareem. Where was the loyalty?
He talking about loyalty when the point Byron Scott is making is about competitiveness. And that's what it is. Like competitiveness, it's not about, like I don't think really fans really care too much about how loyal somebody is. Especially, I think they put competitiveness, I think, in front of loyalty, right? Michael Jordan stayed in Chicago because he was on a mission. That's a Magic and Bird. They stayed in their towns because they were on missions. Isaiah stayed, in Detroit because he was on a mission. So, certain players, franchise players, didn't leave like what LeBron James did. So it's about competitiveness.
Loyalty. The Lakers traded Shaq. Where was the loyalty? Orlando traded Shaq. Where was the loyalty? We expect loyalty from the players, but we don't demand loyalty from the organization. The organization says, we're doing what's in the best interest of the organization.
And you see how they changed the argument. They changed the argument to loyalty. When, again, we're referring to LeBron James as a competitor, right? And that's the whole thing. you know, he's not as competitive as those guys were back in the day. But they're talking about loyalty. So the beef is not with Byron Scott. Is it with the owners? You know, is Shannon Sharp beef with the owners?
A player does what's in the best interest. Oh, he's running from time. He running. He chasing rings. What are teams chasing?
He is afraid to talk about and speak on competitiveness, you know, because he don't have a strong, nobody will have a strong argument when it comes to competitiveness when you talk about LeBron James. And his record speaks to that. You know, every time something gets hot and heavy, LeBron James rolls out. So this is just typical of Shannon Sharp and LeBron James, you know, just trying to change the narrative, man. So that's the way of this new NBA. You know, it's more so, it's not about competitiveness. Basketball and sports in general used to be a good example for how to live your life, you know, teamwork, you know, perseverance, and those type of characteristics you could learn from. You know, they were examples. You saw those type of examples in basketball, but nowadays you don't. You know, when things get hot and heavy in your personal relationships or on your job, you can just pick up and roll out, which is not always the right thing to do. But that's, you know, that's the example that they're setting. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.